I'd like to call the Onslow County Board of Commissioners to meeting for this emergency meeting. I'd like to have a roll call, and the commissioners will answer here. I will call your name. Please respond. Vice Chairman Tim Foster.
Here.
Commissioner Royce Bennett.
Here.
Commissioner Paul Buchanan.
Here.
Commissioner Robin Knapp.
Here.
Commissioner Mark Price.
Present.
Commissioner Walter Scott.
Here.
Declare now that we have a quorum. I'd like a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Report, recommendations, part 2. I guess Norm Bryson will brief us on that.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. Before you have a presentation I will go over that has been provided to us earlier today by the National Weather Service in regards to what is currently Tropical Storm Ian, which we have predictions by the National Weather Service will turn into Hurricane Ian later this evening. Just the first slide here, we're looking at the overall impacts and stuff that we could be seeing as it talks here about coastal flooding, rain, winds, tornado, and marine. One of the first things I would denote on this is we are not expecting to see hurricane force winds here in our area, but we could see at least tropical storm force winds coming into the area of Onslow County. This is just another one talking about the threat levels and where they remain. Some of these I'm going to go through fairly quickly. As you can see here on this overall track that they're providing, and as I remind people that this is just, it is a prediction, and we also talk about the cone of error that you see that is around these items, but the H's in the middle are referring to it turning into that hurricane and moving more toward the South Carolina around the Charleston area. Matter of fact, I actually got some information right before we started this meeting that they think it's going to go further out to the east and more, even further ahead of Charleston, somewhere between Charleston and Myrtle Beach is where they're now looking for potential a second landfall when it becomes Hurricane Ian. Also have a little bit of the time frame you can see there. Most of it's getting close to our area is going to be during the hours of tomorrow. We are in a tropical storm warning at this point in time. This also shows some of the storm surge that you see, and this is also what presents one of our issues. And I have a slide in a minute that I'll talk a little bit more about that. And as you can see here, and this is it with the storm surge and coastal flooding, in and around North Topsail, it is showing that we could see 2 to 3 foot of storm surge. Now, the difficult part about that is going to be around lunchtime, 12 o'clock tomorrow, and that is very close to the same time as high tide. So they will be getting storm surge from this storm as well as high tide at the same time down in North Topsail. We're also seeing effects in and around the town of Swansboro and our coastal area of 1 to 3 feet during that same time frame as well. This is some of the other areas. I'll move through those. We are looking potential between 4 and 6 inches of rain, mainly looking at the time frames right now of the heaviest amount of rain coming between 2 o'clock tomorrow morning and 8 o'clock tomorrow night, which we could see potentially close to 4 inches of rain in a 10-hour time span. I do want people to realize that when we're talking about this type of flooding, we're not talking about something that would push people out of their homes, but this is a situation that will impact and affect driving on roadways, low-lying areas, bridges, any place that we've incurred common flooding in and around the county. This could cause some of that same effects there. Talking about our max wind gust, as you can see here, we could be seeing upward of 50-mile-an-hour wind gust here in the county, with at points and times being sustained above 45. Most of the winds will be in around 20 to 40 mile an hour throughout the county for the duration of the event. As well as we have a potential for tornadoes coming from this event as well. And of course, we have also dangerous marine conditions, which they're talking about 10 to 12 foot seas in addition. So we could see a prolonged period of times of flooding as well as gusts occurring in the county through most of our event, which will be through tomorrow through Friday. Don't want anybody to think that, after 8 o'clock, the rains are just going to stop, but they'll start to subside from there is what we're seeing. At this point in time, Commissioners, if y'all have any questions regarding the brief that I have provided, I'd be glad to answer them for you.
So the biggest potential threat would be the storm surge down at the beach is what we're saying?
Between the storm surge and the flooding that we may have on some of the roadway surge is going to be our biggest potentials that we have, with a slight potential for possible tornadoes, but that is unable to really predict how and what kind of impact that could be.
When's the next update?
The next update we should be seeing here after 5 o'clock, and then the big one, I think there'll be another one at 8 this evening.
Norman, can I ask, on the slide, it showed the storm surge in North Topsail as 2 to 3 feet, but when we were on the call with Eric Hayden, he did indicate that
It could be as high as 4.
it could be as high as 4 in North Topsail.
That's
Is
correct.
that correct? Okay.
We activating the EOC?
We are looking to do a limited activation of this EOC at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Even though the rains will start heavier at the 2 o'clock period, we figured at that point in time it would not cause a great impact. But we are bringing in some of my command staff as well as our swiftwater rescue team in case we have any vehicles that get into dangers on the roadway.
Are we looking at activating shelters at this particular point?
At this time, we are not activating shelters, and we're not recommending anyone evacuate. The biggest concern that we have in this area right now with the current conditions that we've been given and the forecasts we have is really the road conditions between now and probably mid-afternoon tomorrow. It's really important that people be careful traveling. We think with the winds being up at 45 mile per hour and gusts as high as 54 miles per hour, and with the amount of rain that we're going to get, that it could be very dangerous to travel. But we do not think that we're going to need shelters. Our staff's on standby just in case things worsen.
One of the things, Sharon, that I seen when I was down in Swansboro today, I went there down to lunch, and then I went around to look at the docks and whatnot. Low tide is at 5:01, and the water was over the docks. That's low tide. High tide's 11 o'clock this evening, so some of that surge is already holding inside. The wind's probably blowing most of that water into our area.
Yes, sir.
But it was up over the docks, and it was in Casper's parking lot.
We had conversations with both North Topsail and Swansboro earlier today to talk about their potential impacts. As a matter of fact, I think at that point in time, the town of Swansboro had said that the water was about 1 inch from coming up onto land.
And Paula did circle back around, Paula Webb, the town manager of Swansboro, and she said that it did come back down a little bit when the tide went out, but they are very much aware that when the tide comes up with the way that the winds are prevailing, they are running into a situation where at least Water Street may have some flooding issues.
What's the wind speed that we shut down the high-rise at North Topsail?
Well, that is dependent upon the Department of Transportation. At times they have done it at 45 miles an hour, but I also know in certain nor'easter situations that they've not shut down the bridge at all, and we've seen it sometimes up to 60. So that falls under the Department of Transportation's purview.
We're gonna have overwash on the roads at North Topsail at these?
That is a potential that we're looking at.
Norman, could you talk a little, I'm sorry, could you talk a little bit about emergency crews and when they would be stopped? Brett had asked.
So just for general knowledge, in Onslow County, is regarding to ambulances, if we have 45-mile-an-hour sustained winds, not gusts, that's when we pull the ambulance crews off the road. That is by the manufacturer's recommendations, because the ambulances are big aluminum hollow boxes, and high winds, those ambulances cannot proceed well. In the fire service, which the trucks are much larger and they have the tanks of water on the back of them, some of those, if it gets above 45 sustained, we call the chiefs and let them make decisions upon responding. And in regards to the sheriff's office, I think they have a policy that they'll stay on the road as long as they possibly can.
One last question. The state of emergency that we're about to declare or vote on, that's going to be for only the unincorporated areas of Onslow County, correct?
That is correct.
The fuel farms, is fuel farms up and running?
I've talked with Tony Padgett about that. There's fuel in the fuel farms. They are operational if we need to use them.
also add that we have opened the Citizen Phone Bank in case citizens have questions or need resources. That number is 989-5027. It will be open until 8 o'clock p.m. tonight, and it will reopen in the morning at 6 o'clock a.m.
Yes.
Okay, anybody have anything else for Norm? Okay, I'll go to section B for recommendation from our county manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Based upon our emergency services report, we would recommend, as a precaution, that we consider a state of emergency for Onslow County. We urge citizens to be careful in travel and to stay off the roads if possible if the weather conditions deteriorate overnight and into tomorrow. We do anticipate that travel may be treacherous, and we are continuing to watch the forecast. At this time, I will read the proclamation into the record for the consideration of the county commissioners. State of North Carolina, County of Onslow, proclamation of state of emergency by the chairman of the Onslow County Board of Commissioners. Section 1, I have determined that Tropical Storm Ian poses an imminent threat of or existing conditions have caused or will cause widespread or severe damage, injury, loss of life or property, and a state of emergency exists in Onslow County, North Carolina, on this date, September 29th, 2022 at 4:30 p.m. Section 2, pursuant to Article 1A of Chapter 166A of the North Carolina General Statutes, I therefore proclaim the existence of a state of emergency and threatened disaster in Onslow County, North Carolina. Section 3, I hereby order all Onslow County officials and agencies to cooperate in the implementation of the provision of this proclamation and the provisions of the Onslow County Emergency Operations Plan. Section 4, I hereby delegate to Sharon Griffin, County Manager or her designee, the authority granted by the Onslow County Emergency Operations Plan for the purpose of implementing the said Emergency Operations Plan and to take such further action as may be necessary to promote and secure the safety and protection of the populace of Onslow County, North Carolina. Section 5, further, Mr. Norman Bryson, Emergency Services Director, is designated as Chief Coordinating Officer for Onslow County for the duration of this proclamation. Section 6, I further declare that the following restrictions and suspensions are in effect during the state of emergency. Number 1, employees of the County of Onslow, as well as employees and volunteers for the volunteer fire departments located in the County of Onslow, are hereby expressly authorized to go upon private property for the purpose of removing debris, which is clogging or may clog storm drains, streams, or other water courses. Number 2, the regulations promulgated by the North Carolina Department of Labor OSH Division governing worker safety are suspended during the state of emergency as to emergency management workers, including law enforcement, fire, rescue, and emergency medical services of the County of Onslow and volunteer fire departments of the County of Onslow. Section 6, I further direct Sharon Griffin, Section 7, I further direct Sharon Griffin, County Manager or her designee, to seek assistance from all agencies of the United States government as may be needed to meet the emergency and seek reimbursement for costs incurred by the state in responding to this emergency. Section 8, I hereby order this proclamation to be distributed to the news media and other organizations calculated to bring its contents to the attention of the general public unless the circumstances of the state of emergency or disaster prevent or impede, to be promptly filed with the clerk to the Board of Commissioners in the County of Onslow and hereby posted in the Onslow County Courthouse. Section 9, this proclamation shall become effective immediately and shall remain in effect until Monday, October 3rd, 2022 at 12:01 a.m. In witness whereof, I have set my hand and signed this proclamation on the 29th day of September in the year of our Lord 2022. At this time, I respectfully request approval of the proclamation of the state of emergency for unincorporated Onslow County and permission to authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the county.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? No discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the proclamation and the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.